Today, we're diving into a really fascinating story out of Northern Europe. It's a high-stakes scientific puzzle, really. We're looking at Norway's incredibly unique, and you might even say daring, gamble on quantum computing, one of the most transformative technologies on the planet. And right out of the gate, we're hit with this massive contradiction. You have to ask yourself, how can a country be a powerhouse in quantum research but have absolutely no national plan to actually use it? I mean, on the surface, it looks like a huge mistake. But what if it isn't? What if it's actually a very calculated, very deliberate bet? You see, this isn't about Norway falling behind. This is a choice. They're calling it strategic patience. And the idea is that they're playing the long game, right? They want to build the strongest possible foundation before they even think about putting up the skyscraper. But in a race that's moving this fast, you gotta wonder, can anyone really afford to be patient? To really get what they're doing, you first have to understand just how strong Norway's quantum foundation already is. They might be quiet on the business side of things, but believe me, when it comes to academics and research, they are making a lot of noise. 220. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's how many people are actively working on quantum research in Norway. This isn't some side hustle or a small university department. It's a deep, established pool of talent, and it's the absolute bedrock of the country's entire quantum future. And this talent isn't just scattered around. It's focused in these world-class research hubs. You've got Quispin, where they're literally engineering the next generation of materials for quantum devices. And then there's the Similar Research Lab, which is solving one of the trickiest puzzles out there. How do you get these newfangled quantum machines to actually work with the supercomputers we already have? These are serious, heavy-hitting institutions. So here's the key takeaway so far. Norway has spent years meticulously building this incredible academic engine. They've got the brilliant minds, the top-tier institutions, and the deep, fundamental knowledge. The foundation is solid, it's advanced, and it's basically ready to go. But, and this is a really big but, what good is a powerful engine if it's not connected to any wheels? And this brings us right to the other side of this paradox, this massive gaping chasm between Norway's amazing research and its, well, pretty much non-existent commercial quantum industry.
And when you put Norway side by side with its neighbors, the difference is just, wow, it's night and day. While other Nordic countries are launching national strategies, pouring money into startups, and attracting billions from investors, Norway has just been waiting. No official plan, almost zero startups, and not much reason for private money to get involved.
And look, this isn't just some theoretical problem. This has real-world consequences. A really promising startup called NQCG actually had to shut its doors. And what was the reason they gave? Structural gaps. In other words, there was no support system, no bridge to help them get their brilliant ideas out of the lab and into the market. And if you need any more proof, just do what they always say. Follow the money. Norway's public funding for quantum in 2025 is around 50 million kroner. That sounds like a lot until you see that its neighbors are investing billions. It's not even in the same ballpark. Okay, so what do? You've got all this brain power, but this huge commercial gap. What's the move? Well, part one of Norway's answer is collaboration. They know they can't do it all themselves, so they're leaning really hard on their friends and neighbors. Through alliances like Nordiquest, they get access to shared quantum computers and other expensive hardware that they might not build on their own. Think of it like a super high-tech timeshare. Partnering with Denmark's legendary Niels Bohr Institute gives them a huge boost in expertise. And by aligning with the G7 on policy, they make sure their voice is heard in the big global conversations. It's a really smart way to punch above their weight. But teaming up with your neighbors can only get you so far. The real game changer, the thing that's going to kick everything into high gear, is finally on the horizon. And this brings us to the most important part of the whole story, the moment when Norway's strategic patience is set to finally end. And here's the roadmap for how it's all going to go down. By the end of 2025, they'll have a complete knowledge base, basically a giant report on where everything stands. Then, in mid-2026, comes the main event. They will finally publish a formal national quantum strategy. This is the green light. This is what everyone has been waiting for. So, for this strategy to actually work, what does it need? Well, it can't just be a fancy document. It needs to have clear goals for research and development. It's got to create real long-term incentives for startups to get off the ground. That, in turn, has to be attractive enough to bring in private investment. And maybe most important of all, the entire plan has to be laser-focused on areas where Norway is already a world leader. And this is the really clever part of the plan.
Norway isn't trying to build a giant, general-purpose quantum computer to compete with the likes of Google or IBM. No way. Instead, they're going niche. They're going to use quantum technology to solve problems in industries they already dominate, like maritime, energy, and geophysics, by becoming the best in the world at specialized quantum sensing.
So why should you care about all this? Because Norway's story is a fantastic case study. It's a playbook for how a smaller country, one that doesn't have endless billions to spend, can use patience, academic smarts, and strategic partnerships to carve out its own special place in a massive global technology race.
Which, of course, leaves us with the one big final question. Was this whole strategic patience thing a brilliant chess move that let them build an unshakable foundation while others rushed ahead? Or was it a fatal mistake, a delay that gave their rivals a head start they can never overcome? The next 18 months are going to be absolutely critical, and we're about to find out if this quiet quantum gamble is finally going to pay off.